Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let's continue on estimation topic, which is specifically here for ratio of the two variance. Okay, previously we have looked into the estimation of one population variance. So now is if we have two population variance, then we can estimate the ratio of the two population variances. Okay. So to compare the variance of two populations, a sample is randomly selected from each normally distributed population. When all possible samples of size n1 and n2 are selected from their population, the ratio of variance, which is s1 square over s2 square, follows F distribution. So, what are the characteristics of the F distribution? First, we have the F distribution is a continuous and skewed to the right types. Okay, seems goes like chi-square distribution. Okay, previously I have already illustrate to you how's the bell-shaped curve like. Okay, as we increase the degree of freedom, it's tend to be normally distributed. Okay. The shape of the F distribution depends on two number of degree of freedom, one for the numerator and another one for the denominator. Okay, we use notation V1 and V2. Okay, V1 and V2. So V1 is the degree of freedoms for population 1, V2 degree of freedom for population 2. So V1 equals to N1 minus 1. V2 equals to N2 minus 1. Okay. The unit of an F distribution are non-negative and denoted by F alpha V1, V2, where V1 is the degree of freedom for the numerator and V2 is the degree of freedom for the denominator. Alpha is the area to the right of the F distribution. So the formula to find the confidence interval for the variance of variance of population 1 over variance population 2 is S1 square over S2 square times 1 over F alpha over 2 V1 V2. Okay, this one is for the lower limit. And the upper limit is S1 square over S2 square times F alpha over 2 V2 V1. Okay, kita terbalikkan dia punya degree of freedoms. Okay. Whereas V1, as I mentioned, V1 is N1 minus 1, V2 is N2 minus 1. So the assumption here that should be hold is the population are normally distributed. Okay, before I go further uh, into the example, let's look into the table that we will be used for ratio of the two variants. Okay, so now we will continue to use table number 9. Okay, before this, table number 8. Now we will proceed to table 9, which is F table. Okay, so how to read this table? Okay, so you should listen carefully. Okay, so look at the first row. So row here, we have the value for the degree of freedoms. Okay, so we have V1 starting from 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. And then kita akan continue the next page. Okay, so continue. Next page is here, this one. Okay. Okay, itu untuk dia punya yang kalau awak tengok row. Okay, tengok by column. By column kita ada value V2. So V2 starting from 1, 2 up to untuk first page up to 12. At the next page dia continue 13 up to infinity. Okay, then if you look at the table, saya besarkan sekejap ya. Okay. Tengok dekat table ni ada banyak value kat dia. Ada 4 value tersusun dalam setiap combination of V1 and V2. Okay. So kalau awak baca kat sini, dia kata this value is tabulated for alpha 0.05, 0.025, 0.01, 0.001 and the 0.025 values being bracketed. Okay, so maksudnya value yang pertama atas sekali adalah untuk alpha 0.05. In bracket is 0.025 and then 0.01. Last sekali 0.001. Okay, semua macam tu. Awak tengok yang bawah ni pun sama. Atas ni adalah untuk 0.05. This one is 0.025. This one is 0.01. And lastly 0.001. Okay, so maksudnya nanti kalau nak cari, you want to find F 0.01, V1 4, V2 2 katakan. F 0.05, maksudnya awak kena cari this one lah, 19.2. Katakan kalau awak nak cari, let's say you want to find F 0.025, V1 dia 4, V2 dia 4 katakan. Okay, so awak tengok kat sini lah. Cari 4 dan 4. Okay, so 0.025 adalah yang in bracket. So in bracket is 9.6. Okay, so kena ingat susunan dia. First one is 0.05. Second one is 0.025. And then 0.01. And lastly is 0.001. Okay, so that is how to read F table. Okay, so kalau tak ada value dekat first page, cari dekat page sebelah. Okay. Okay, so that is how to read your table lah. Okay. So let's take a look into the example 3.3. Okay, so example 3.3. A pharmaceutical manufacturer purchases a particular material from two different suppliers. If the level of impurity tends to vary excessively for one source of supply, it could affect the quality of the pharmaceutical product. To compare the variation in percentage of impurity for the two suppliers, the manufacturer select 8 and 9 shipment from supplier X and Y. Okay, so meaning that N1 kita adalah N untuk X, and X kita ada 8, N untuk Y ada 9. Okay. Sampel dia lah. The sample mean and variance of impurity in the material from each shipment are, okay, supplier X, X bar 1.89, S square 0.273, and tadi 8. Okay, supplier Y, Y bar equals to 1.85, and S square equals to 0.094. Okay, the question is, find a 90% confident interval for the difference in the variability of the shipment impurity level for the two suppliers. Okay, hint dia kat sini adalah we want to find the confident interval for the difference in the variability. Okay, dia tak kata difference in mean, dia kata difference in variability. So kalau keyword dia variability, meaning that we want to find the confident interval for the ratio of the two variances. Okay, so this formula will be used. Okay, the lower limit is S1 square over S2 square times 1 over F alpha over 2 V1 V2. The upper limit is S1 square over S2 square times F alpha over 2 V2 V1. So identify your alpha here. So our alpha is 0.5. Our alpha is 0.1. So you need to identify first what are the critical value for the lower limit and the upper limit. So first we find the critical limit for F alpha over 2. So 0.1 divided by 2 is 0.05. V1, V2. So V1 kita adalah N1 minus 1. 8 minus 1 is 7. V2 is 9 minus 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay. This is for the lower limit. Okay. And then the critical limit for the upper limit. The critical value for the upper limit is okay. The critical value for the upper limit is F alpha over 2. So F 0.05. Tapi susunan dia adalah V2, V1. So V2 kita adalah N2 minus 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. V1 is N1 minus 1. 7. Maksudnya kita swap je. V1 jadi V2, V2 jadi V1. Okay, now look at your table. Okay, so kita nak cari F 0.05, 7 and 8. So cari combination 7 and 8. Saya besarkan sikit. Okay, so 7. V1 kita 7. Jangan silap ya. V1 yang row, V2 yang column. So V1 kita 7. V2 kita 8. Okay, so kita nak cari yang 0.05. So 0.05 adalah yang pertama sekali. Yang mula-mula. Kita ada 4 pilihan kat sini. So ambil yang mula-mula lah. So jawapannya adalah 3.5. Okay. Satu lagi. F 0.05, 8, 7. Maksudnya V1 kita 8, V2 kita 7. 8 and 7, value dia adalah 3.73. So maksudnya tadi 3.5 dengan 3.73. Okay. So lower limit tadi 3.5. Upper limit tadi 3.73. So, kita boleh calculate lah kita punya confidence interval. Okay, formula dia S1 square over S2 square. So, S1 kita adalah 0.273. Tak perlu letak kuasa 2 sebab dia memang variance. Okay, bahagi dengan 0.094 times 1 over 1 per 3.5. Okay. Ni lower limit, upper limit pula 0.273 bahagi dengan 0.094 darab dengan F 0.0587 is value dia 3.73. So finally your confidence interval is equivalent to 0.8298 and 10.8329. Okay. Now, B. Can the manufacturer conclude that there is no difference in the variability of the shipment impurity level for the two suppliers? Explain. Okay, so kalau kita nak interpret confidence interval for the difference between two population mean, kita akan tengok value 0. Is there any 0 in the located in between the confident value yang awak dapat? Okay, untuk ratio of the two variance, okay, kita akan observe value 1. Okay, ada 1 atau tidak dekat dalam awak punya confident interval yang awak dapat tu. Okay, now look at this confident interval. Okay, kalau saya lukis dia punya garis nombor. Okay, awak tengok ya. This one is 0.8298. Let's say this one is 10.8329. Okay. So, tengok. Ada 1 kan dekat dalam ni. Value 1 adalah in between 0.8 dengan 10. Okay. So, bila ada value 1 dekat dalam awak punya confidence interval tu, meaning that ratio of the variance untuk population 1 over population 2 sama dengan 1. Bermaksud, variance of population 1 equals to variance of population 2. Kalau ada value 1 dekat dalam kita punya confidence interval. So, maksudnya dekat dalam contoh ni ada value 1 antara 0.8 and 10. So, meaning that, so we can conclude that there is no difference in the variability of the shipment impurity level for the two suppliers since the interval passing through the value 1. Okay. Ingat ya, kalau interval tu ada 1, bermaksud variance dia adalah sama. No different in the variability. Ataupun variance are equal. So, we can write here, yes, the manufacturer can conclude there is no difference. No difference in the variability. Salin je balik ayat tu. Of the shipment impurity level. Okay, tapi ditanya why? Kenapa? Explain. Because the interval passing 1 value. Passing through value 1. Okay, so meaning that is variance of population 1 ataupun supplier X equals to variance of supplier Y. Okay. Nah, asalnya macam ni lah idea dia. Okay, kalau sama bermaksud bila ratio tu ada value 1 bermaksud population variance equal variance of population 1 are equal variance of population 2. Ni maksud dia. Kalau tak ada 1 dalam tu maksudnya dia punya variance are not equal lah. Kalau tak ada 1 bermaksud kalau if variance of population 1 over variance of population 2 does not equal to 1, meaning that variance are not equal. Tapi kalau ada 1 bermaksud dia equal. Okay, now let's take a look into the example 3.31. Okay, the manufacturer of a small battery-powered tape recorder decide to include 4 alkaline batteries with its products. 2 battery suppliers are being considered. Each has its own brand 1 and brand 2. The supervising inspector of incoming quality believed that the battery lifetime follows a normal distribution with equal variance. A sample experiment is conducted. Each of 10 batteries, 5 of each brand, is connected to a test device that plays a small drain on the battery power and record the battery lifetime and the following result in our are obtained. So we have 2 brand of battery supplier here. We have brand 1 and brand 2. So brand 1 we have 5 sample, brand 2 also we have 5 sample. So the data here is recorded in terms of battery lifetime. Okay, so what should you do? First, by using your calculator, find the sample variance, for brand 1. So from calculator I get S1 square equals to 27.7. And then for the brand 2, I get 17.3. Okay. Awak check ya. Check by using your calculator. Is it the same like the value as I get? Okay. So the question is asking you to construct a 95% confidence interval on the ratio of the variance of lifetime of the battery of the 2 brand. And then interpret the confidence interval obtained. Okay, so based on the question, we get alpha is 0.05. Okay, meaning that you should refer table 9. Okay, so we need to find F alpha over 2, V1, V2. So alpha is 0.05 divided by 2, we get F 0.025. V1 is N minus 1, N1 minus 1, so 5 minus 1 is 4. And N2 also 5 minus 1 equals to 4. So look at your table, you should get value in bracket 9.6. This is for the lower limit. For the upper limit, F alpha over 2, F 0.025, kita terbalikkan V2, V1, still since value dia sama, so still 4 and 4 lah. Okay, so value dia sama 9.6. Okay, now we can find the confidence interval by substitute all the information that we have find into the formula. Okay, so we get 27 over 7 over 17.3. Okay, this one is S1 square, S2 square times 1 over critical value for the lower limit. Okay, so this is for lower limit. For upper limit, S1 square over S2 square times 9.6. So finally, we get the answer 0.1668 and 15.3715. Okay. Do the interval support the supervising inspector belief that the variance lifetime of the two brands are equal? Okay, look at the confidence interval. We observe that value 1 are in between the lower limit and upper limit. So, yes, the interval support the supervising inspector belief. Okay, since the variance lifetime of the two variance are equal since the interval value include value 1. Ada value 1 antara 0.16 dengan 15.3715. So meaning that there is no difference in the variance of the lifetime between supplier 1 and supplier X and supplier Y. Betul ke XY? Betul. Okay. Brand 1, brand 2, sorry. Okay, so that is for example 3.31. Now look at example 3.32. A manufacturer of paper used the making paper bags is interested to investigate the tensile strength for the two different category 1 and 2. A sample of 9 paper bags from category 1 gave a mean strength of 163.2 with standard deviation 0.98. A sample of 8 from category 2 gave a mean strength of 160.4 with standard deviation 1.42. Assume that the data were drawn from a normal population. Construct a 95% confidence interval on the ratio of variance of the strength between category 1 and category 2. Can you conclude that there is a difference in the variance of the strength between category 1 and category 2? Okay, so sometimes the keyword dia tanya confidence interval for the difference in the variability. So kalau variability maksudnya sama, kita nak cari confidence interval untuk the ratio of the two population variance. Okay. Another one, dia straight away dia tanya construct confidence interval for ratio of the variance. Okay, so untuk this case, kita identify maklumat yang kita ada. So we have two population here referring to category 1 and category 2. N1 equals to 9 and the standard deviation is 0.98. Tak ada square ya, dia sebab dia standard deviation. So value dia ada value S. Okay, N2 kita, category 2, kita ada 8 sample and the standard deviation is 1.42. Okay, jangan letak kuasa 2 sebab ini adalah value standard deviation. Student selalu silap kat situ. Okay, kalau variance dah ada kuasa 2, kalau standard deviation dia S sahaja. Okay. Now, our alpha is 0.05 because we want to construct 95% confidence interval. So, our alpha is 0.05. So, the critical value that we need to find is, okay, untuk lower limit is F alpha over 2 V1 V2. So, alpha is F 0.05 divided by 2 is F 0.025. V1 kita adalah N minus 1, so equals to 8. V2 kita adalah 8 minus 1 equals 7. So, refer at your table, you should get 4.9. Okay, for upper limit, we need to find F alpha over 2 V2 V1. So, the value is F 0.025, 7 and 8. So, kita dapat dekat table, dia adalah 4.53. Okay. Okay, dalam table tu, always refer V1 yang dekat row, V2 dekat column. Okay. Memanglah kat sini saya kata kita terbalikkan dia V2, V1. Maksudnya awak still baca V2 tu adalah value dekat row. V1 tu adalah value dekat column. This one row column tak berubah ya, cuma dia punya peranan sahaja berubah. Okay. So, walaupun kita ubah, kita terbalikkan dia V2, V1. Maksudnya awak still kena refer V2 ni adalah value yang dekat row. Value yang V1 tu lah. Okay. And then V1 ni adalah value yang column. Okay. Row column dia tak berubah. Cuma kita terbalikkan sahaja value dia. Value sahaja yang terbalik. Tapi awak jangan refer yang column dulu. Mesti always refer V1 tu adalah row. Okay, V2 column. Okay, tapi bila kita nak cari V2, V1, still V2 tu adalah dekat row, V1 tu dekat column. Okay. Jangan confuse yang tu ya. Now we can plug in the value into the formula. Okay, so kita akan dapat S1 square over S2 square. So, S1 is 0.98. Yang ni kita kena letak kuasa 2 sebab dia adalah standard deviation. Formula dia kita nak mesti variant S1 square. So, kena letak square lah. 0.68 kuasa 2 bahagi dengan 1.42 kuasa 2. Darab dengan 1 over 4.9. Okay, this one for lower limit. For the upper limit, S1 square over S2 square, 0.98 square over 1.42 square times 4.53. So finally, we get the confidence interval is 0.0972 and 2.1576. Okay, so how to answer this question? Okay, ada different ke tak dekat variance? So look at the interval value. Since value 1 is in between 0.09 and 2.15, so meaning that we can conclude that there is no difference in the variance of the strength between category 1 and category 2. Since the interval value since the interval include value 1. Okay, so meaning that no difference between category 1 and category 2.